For decades, Tom Hanks has occupied a rare position in Hollywood. He is often described as dependable, reassuring, and morally grounded, a performer audiences instinctively trust. His films rarely provoke controversy, and his public appearances are carefully measured. Yet Hollywood is not built only on applause. It is also shaped by unspoken tensions, quiet rivalries, and unresolved impressions. Behind even the most polished public images, there are people who walked away with different experiences. This story is not about proving wrongdoing or tearing down a legacy. It is about perception, how power, silence, and reputation can slowly create distance between colleagues. In an industry where image is currency, even small moments can grow into long-lasting resentment. Over time, these moments form patterns, and patterns invite questions. Tom Hanks's career represents consistency and safety, but for some within Hollywood, that very consistency became a source of friction rather than comfort. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, Tom Hanks had successfully transformed his career. He moved away from light comedy and stepped into roles that emphasized emotional sincerity and moral clarity. Studios quickly recognized that his presence reduced financial risk. When Hanks was attached to a project, audiences felt secure, critics relaxed, and executives breathed easier. This reliability gave him enormous influence, often without him needing to assert it openly. However, influence changes dynamics on set. Decisions carry more weight. Opinions land harder. For collaborators who preferred looser, experimental environments, this shift could feel restrictive. Hollywood often celebrates stability, but it can also quietly punish those who challenge it. As Hanks's authority grew, some colleagues reportedly began feeling sidelined, not through open conflict, but through subtle changes in control and hierarchy that are difficult to challenge directly. One of the earliest and most discussed examples dates back to Turner and Hooch. Henry Winkler, already respected for his creative instincts, was originally hired to direct the film. Very early into production, he was replaced. No detailed public explanation was ever offered, leaving space for speculation. Industry insiders later described differences in working style as the core issue. Winkler favored a relaxed, actor-friendly atmosphere, while Hanks was becoming known for structure, preparation, and precision. Neither approach is inherently wrong, but clashes can arise when expectations differ. Winkler later spoke about the experience with humor, yet his comments suggested lingering disagreement rather than resolution. Hanks, as has often been the case, chose not to comment publicly. The silence itself became part of the story, allowing interpretations to take root without clarification. As Hanks's career expanded, similar undercurrents appeared in other high-profile projects. The Toy Story franchise is a prime example. On screen, the partnership between Woody and Buzz Lightyear felt seamless. Off-screen, however, reports suggested a growing imbalance in visibility and narrative focus. Over time, Woody became increasingly central to the story, while Buzz's role subtly shifted. Tim Allen has occasionally hinted at discomfort, and multiple accounts claim the two actors preferred recording separately. Whether this stemmed from creative differences, personality contrast, or simple logistics remains unclear. What matters is perception. In Hollywood, perceived imbalance can quietly erode collaboration. The films thrived, but behind the scenes, the relationship reportedly lacked warmth. It was not a dramatic feud, just a gradual emotional distance that never fully closed. Not all tension surrounding Tom Hanks emerged from direct interaction. Sometimes, resentment grows from missed opportunities. Early in their careers, Hanks and Tom Cruise were often considered for similar roles. Both were talented, ambitious, and searching for identity. When Risky Business was cast, Hanks was reportedly considered but ultimately passed over. The role went to Cruise, launching him into superstardom. Years later, a similar situation occurred with Jerry Maguire. Hanks declined the role to focus on directing, and Cruise once again stepped in, delivering a career-defining performance. Neither actor has publicly acknowledged rivalry, yet repeated intersections naturally fuel speculation. In Hollywood, timing shapes destiny. Watching another actor rise through roles you nearly had can leave lasting impressions, even when no hostility is expressed openly. Leonardo DiCaprio's experience illustrates another form of tension. creative imbalance. During Catch Me If You Can, DiCaprio was transitioning from teen idol to serious actor. Hanks, meanwhile, was already deeply trusted by studios and director Steven Spielberg. Insiders later suggested that DiCaprio sometimes felt overshadowed, not through intent but through institutional authority. Attention, trust, and leadership naturally gravitated toward Hanks. The film succeeded, but the experience reportedly reinforced DiCaprio's desire to avoid situations where his presence might feel secondary. In the years that followed, his role choices became more aggressive and risk-driven. This was not a rejection of Hanks personally, but a response to a system where certain figures carry automatic dominance. Sometimes, the lesson learned is simply to never stand beside someone who defines the room. Anne Hathaway's rumored discomfort followed a similar emotional pattern. As an emerging talent, she was frequently positioned next to established legends at industry events. According to people familiar with these interactions, what was intended as mentorship sometimes felt patronizing. Hanks's warmth and authority, while genuine, may have unintentionally reinforced hierarchy rather than equality. Hathaway was working intensely to be taken seriously, and constant association with a paternal figure reportedly felt limiting. Over time, she appeared to distance herself. There was no public disagreement, no dramatic fallout, just absence. In Hollywood, absence often speaks louder than confrontation. When rising performers quietly step away, it is often because the emotional cost of proximity outweighs the benefits of connection. As Hanks's image solidified, criticism began shifting away from specific incidents toward symbolism. For some filmmakers, he came to represent Hollywood's preference for safety over risk. Quentin Tarantino has never accused Hanks of personal wrongdoing, but his critiques of safe storytelling carried unmistakable undertones. He described certain actors as symbols of emotional reassurance, performers whose presence signals predictability. Eventually, Tarantino became more direct, framing Hanks as emblematic of an industry unwilling to truly challenge audiences. From his perspective, this was not about personality but creative philosophy. Hanks's popularity, in this view, discouraged studios from financing uncomfortable or morally ambiguous stories. Hanks never responded, allowing the criticism to exist without friction, further reinforcing the idea that he operated above such debates. Joaquin Phoenix's rumored discomfort stemmed from a deeper philosophical divide. Phoenix has long rejected traditional celebrity behavior, often appearing uneasy with promotional rituals. Hanks, by contrast, excels at public engagement. According to awards season insiders, interactions between the two were polite but distant. Phoenix reportedly viewed Hanks as representative of a system that values approachability over raw authenticity. Whether this translated into personal dislike remains uncertain. What is clear is that their personas could not be more different. One embraces discomfort, the other embodies reassurance. In an industry built on image, such contrasts naturally invite tension, even when no words are exchanged. Shia LaBeouf's criticism was far less subtle. Known for blunt honesty, he has repeatedly questioned Hollywood's reliance on familiar names. According to those who worked with him, he often dismissed performances like Hanks's as safe, arguing that they flatten storytelling rather than expand it. For LaBeouf, the issue was generational. He believed younger actors were expected to innovate without threatening institutional comfort. Hanks, in this framework, symbolized an untouchable stability that limited creative evolution. These comments were not formal accusations, but expressions of frustration with a system that rewards reliability over experimentation. Comedy has always been a vehicle for uncomfortable truth. Bill Murray's rumored tension with Hanks dates back to their parallel comedic origins. Their styles diverged sharply. Hanks leaned toward warmth and accessibility, while Murray embraced unpredictability and irony. Industry veterans recall mutual frustration. Murray viewed Hanks as calculated. Hanks reportedly found Murray erratic. Over time, Murray occasionally took subtle shots at actors who play it safe. Names were never mentioned, but audiences filled in the blanks. Again, Hanks offered no response, allowing contrast to define itself. Ricky Gervais was far more direct. Known for dismantling Hollywood's self-congratulation, he frequently mocked moral branding and performative virtue. During award shows, figures like Hanks were used as shorthand for sanitized wholesomeness. While framed as satire, insiders suggested deeper frustration. Gervais has long criticized the idea that likability substitutes for honesty. Whether personal or ideological, his remarks planted public doubt through laughter, a powerful tool in shaping perception. Chelsea Handler's critiques arrived wrapped in sarcasm. She once joked that Hanks was everyone's dad but nobody's friend. The line lingered. Handler has openly criticized Hollywood's dependence on safe investments, arguing it crowds out bold voices. According to those close to her, she views Hanks as the ultimate low-risk choice. Her comments sparked debate, dividing audiences between defenders of a beloved icon and those questioning the system he represents. As political divisions deepened, Hanks's neutrality was increasingly interpreted as judgment rather than restraint. For some, his silence felt superior rather than gracious. Roseanne Barr was among the loudest critics, attacking Hollywood's selective morality. Though she rarely named him directly, her references to sanitized heroes were widely interpreted as aimed at figures like Hanks. To her, silence was not grace, it was complicity. Kirstie Alley's tension was shaped by politics. A vocal conservative, she grew frustrated with celebrities who, in her view, used their platforms selectively. Insiders recall noticeable avoidance between her and Hanks at industry events. Her social media posts grew sharper, criticizing actors who hid behind popularity while enforcing ideological conformity. Many assumed Hanks was among her unspoken targets. Mel Gibson's resentment was rooted in perceived double standards. After watching his own career unravel, he reportedly viewed Hanks as evidence that Hollywood forgives selectively. Friends claimed Gibson believed the industry valued optics over complexity. Hanks's pristine image, reinforced by family-friendly roles, symbolized an imbalance Gibson felt deeply. Again, Hanks did not respond. By the time all these voices emerged, one pattern was impossible to ignore. Hanks never answered back. He did not defend himself, clarify, or counterattack. He simply continued working. For admirers, this restraint confirmed his professionalism. For critics, it felt calculated, a form of power that does not need explanation. In Hollywood, silence is rarely neutral. It can function as insulation, allowing controversy to burn out while reputation remains intact. Over time, Hanks's absence from public feuds became part of his mythology. He was seen as the adult in the room, yet for those who felt overshadowed, that silence felt dismissive. What makes this story complex is that there is no evidence Tom Hanks is cruel or manipulative. The issue is not behavior but perception. When one person becomes an industry's moral center, disagreement begins to look like bitterness. Critics are framed as troublemakers rather than participants in a valid conversation. The real tension surrounding Tom Hanks is not hatred, it is symbolism. He represents comfort in an industry built on risk, stability in a world driven by ambition. For some, that is admirable. For others, it is suffocating. And as long as Hollywood continues rewarding reassurance over disruption, that quiet resentment is unlikely to disappear.